And then the Golden State post splits.
Just splits.
The post splits.
The post splits.
I have been wanting to have this conversation with you for so many years
Yep.
because I have said the Golden State post splits, specifically with that team, is like the hardest action to guard.
Yep.
You guarded it 4 straight finals.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on how to defend it?
Hey guys, welcome to the Film Room. We're about to break down the split action that the Golden State Warriors have made famous over the last few years and look at the most basic principles of it and then expound on why they have become so successful. So at its core, a split action is anytime you throw the ball into the post and the two closest players to the ball are going to screen for each other, typically in this combination right here where the guard is going to come off for a shot and then the screener can either slip or pop. Now, the two primary reasons why this action is difficult to guard is because number one, it forces the defense to communicate. The two guys that are guarding the split action have to be on the same page about what they're going to do. Are they going to switch? Are they going to stay matched up? Are they going to chase the screen or shoot the gap? There's a lot of things to be on the same page about. And the second reason is that this is one of the few actions in basketball where it becomes very difficult to see your man and the ball. As they go into this split action, not one Sacramento defender can see the basketball, and you will continue to see what a challenge this is for the defense every time this action is run. Now, the most common way to run split action is to set what's called a guard-guard screen. But the problem with that is that now the defenders of the split action are also guards, which makes it easier for them to switch, or if they want to fight through a screen, they're much better at doing it, which ultimately leads to difficult shots, and that's what we're trying to avoid shooting in our offense. So what the Warriors started doing years ago is they would enter the ball from their 5-man to their 4-man. This is now going to make it easier for them to get their guard open because as this screen is set, a typical 5-man is going to hang out down in the paint, which opens up these catch and shoot shots. And this one adjustment has created hundreds of open shots for Steph and Klay over the years. As the ball gets thrown in from the 5-man, notice how Christian Wood is standing in the paint. And they know that Steph's defender has to chase him because he's such a good shooter, and there is absolutely no chance that he's ever going to shoot the gap. So Steph comes off tight to Kevon Looney's screen, and now look at how much more open he is than the last clip we saw when it was a guard to guard. So if you run split action and you've never done it with the 5-man entering the ball, I would highly recommend that you give this a shot. You will be amazed at how many more open looks you get. Now, you might have an offense where the goal isn't to get a bunch of kick-out threes. This offense also creates a lot of opportunities for slips, and that's the next thing we're going to talk about. And where we're going to start is that topic of communication. As Shaun Livingston goes to set this split action for Klay, there is miscommunication with the defense because both defenders are worried about Klay getting open, and that's what opens up this slip for Livingston. So watch this next example. As the ball gets thrown in, the defense is actually mismatched right now where the 5-man is guarding Klay and a guard is guarding the 5-man. So their intent is just to switch this screen to get back to like matchups, but Jordan Bell anticipates that, and that's why he slips. And then on the catch, he recognizes the help defender step up and dishes it to Draymond for an easy dunk. But where it gets tricky is that the guy receiving the screen also has the ability to slip as well. So notice how Klay puts his hand right on the shoulder of Kyle Kuzma because he knows that he's trying to fight through that screen. He pushes off of him, slips to the basket, and gets an easy layup. And then in an almost identical situation where the Lakers didn't want to give up that same slip to Steph, he notices that his defender is trying to force him into the screen so that he doesn't give it up, but Steph uses it against him and still slips to the same spot for a floater. And if you have a 5-man that can shoot the ball, this basically becomes impossible to guard. As Klay comes off of this split action and curls to the rim, the 5-man's going to sit in the paint to take away any layups. He now gives up this much space to Boogie, who gets a rhythm catch and shoot 3. And one more thing I would leave you with when it comes to slipping out of split action is anybody on the court has the ability to slip because, like we talked about, it's really difficult to see ball and man against this concept. So while everybody is worrying about Steph and KD, this defender gets caught looking at the ball for half a second, and that allows Klay to get behind his vision and get an easy slip for a layup. Another advantage of split action is how it opens up your post-isolation game. As you start finding success doing these things we've just talked about, these defenders are going to lock in on their matchups. That's going to create these one-on-one post-iso situations where there's no help involved. As you watch this next possession and the ball gets thrown into the post, because the guards don't run anything and they just stand and watch, notice how this defender right here, who is referred to as a dig defender or a help defender, has the ability to get in there and make this post isolation very difficult. But then when you watch the contrast of this possession, Clay never worries about a help defender because everybody is worried about guarding the split action. So just by consistently doing something on the perimeter when you throw the ball into the post, if you have the type of offensive system where you want to get a lot of post touches, running split action is going to free up that big man to be able to work out and do what he needs to do. But the best thing that the Warriors do is what they refer to as Gaggle Action, which simply means they're going to have 3 players involved in the split action rather than 2. This now creates another layer of slipping to the basket and more miscommunication that could take place. And what you're going to find here in these next few possessions is that it's almost impossible to cover up all of the options. So as this ball gets entered, Jordan Poole is going to start by curling to the rim off Steph, and that is going to create this switch. Well, McCollum wasn't prepared for that switch and gets turned around, and at this point, there is no chance that he's going to get to Steph before he comes off of this split action for the catch and shoot 3. And they read their defenders so well. As Steph goes to set this screen away for Otto Porter, he notices his defender look this direction, and that's all the advantage he needs to sprint off of this screen from the 5-man to get an open 3. And on top of that, they are phenomenal actors. I want you to pay attention to Jordan Poole. He's in the same situation as Steph, and he's going to wave the 4-man over as if he wants him to curl around him, knowing good and well that that's not what's going to happen. He knows that the 5-man is low in help, and he's going to get chased by his defender, so he just wanted a small advantage to be able to come off this curl, aim for that spot right on the break line for an easy 3. So by adding that 3rd player into this split action, it creates so many variations of what they can do, it just becomes so hard to predict what's going to happen. And one of their go-to ways to get into this is with 77 Gaggle. Now 77 in the NBA refers to a double drag, where you have 2 drag screens being set. So as he comes off, they pop the 4-man, they throw it in, and as you can see, they're now in that 3-man alignment, and as Steph goes to set this away screen, he recognizes his defender gets caught on the top side, and he slips for a layup. And they also use this 77 just to get into their traditional split action. So they want their 5-man to be second so that they can throw it to him, and then Steph's coming right back off of that split action for a catch and shoot 3. This is such a simple action that you can get into, and there's so many different ways that you can score out of it. As with every video I produce, I hope that you have a better understanding of this game and you appreciate it more. Thanks for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.